Haha. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Thursday night hang here on the OnoLive channel. What's happening? Hope you're all doing well. Let me back up here so we can see. How's that looking? Better. How's it going? Good to see all of you. I am here. And it's kind of chilly. Actually, it was I don't know if it's really that cold or whatever. It feels cold. It feels cold. And we're doing coffee and cigars, as always, here on the channel on Thursday. The Thursday night hang. And tonight we've got some coffee and cigars. Our coffee is going to be kind of simple. Actually, not simple. We've got something new. A new coffee brewing device that I just got, and I'm just trying it out. And then we also have our cigar of the day. The cigar of today is, as you probably saw on the title, the Ferio Tego Generoso, which is a cigar from Michael Herklot that is produced by Plasencia Cigar Factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. We'll get into more of that in a little bit. But let's start off with our coffee. Hope you're all doing well. How was your week? Hope it was good. Actually, Brian just stopped by. He was up in Pennsylvania, went by a cigar shop, and they had a hidden stash of Roma Craft Revenges, and he grabbed me one. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that. Let me just move this around because I relocated the heater, and so normally it's over here. Today it's over here, and it is like very close. So I am like scorching on this side, but over here it was it's always uneven, and it's always difficult like that. So hope all is well. Hopefully we had big snow since last time, right? Is that right? Was it big snow since last time, or did we have big snow and then we had last time? And then, yeah, George is with us. I'm back on the balcony with the Padron. I guess it's a little bit more comfortable today. I was kind of surprised you weren't out there last week, but I was also not surprised. Actually, I was telling the guys last week. I don't know if you saw it, but last week before we started, it was so cold. I was like, man, I'm just gonna cancel the stream and just like I can't take it. And then I was thinking, people like George are outside, so let me. I can't not show up for them. So we. And then you're the one that show. No worries, no big deal. But good to see you. So today we're going to be this morning on the stream on the morning show. I got this cigar, this coffee brewer that I hadn't tried before. One of our audience members there was like, "Hey, there's this brewer that you should try, and it's called the Hoop by a company called Cigar. Cigar is a coffee grinder manufacturer based in Venice, Italy." And for whatever reason, they came out with this home brewing device that is kind of interesting. And I never heard about it, even though it's been out for like 2 years. I'm totally behind in like knowing about what's happening in home brewing. But I got it, and it's called the Hoop. And here it is. Here is the Hoop brewer. And it's this really, really simple type of brewer where there's this big bowl, and then there's an inner sleeve that screws in, right? Last week would have resulted in hyperthermia, no doubt. It was ridiculous last week. Last week was really, really just brutal. Like, it was so brutal last week. Hold on, I'm trying to move. I'm moving the computer so I can get a little more space. There we go. That's a lot better. So here it is. This is this inner sleeve, and so they got these 12 holes here on the bottom, right? This is the orientation. See the holes? Right, there's these holes that are on the bottom, and what happens is you put this together, right? There's a filter that goes in here. You put it all together, and the holes sit right at the bottom of the bowl on this surface, and the coffee goes in the center. The water flows through the holes, and then brews the coffee. So it's a fairly simple way to brew, and I was thinking before we started this, when we were doing the show this morning, this could be something that we really great type of brewer to make it easy for the average consumer to make nice coffee at home, right? Like if you just buy nice quality coffee from, let's say, like a local roaster that has nice quality, and you have them pre-grind it for you, and then you just put it in here and you add the hot water, you're done. It's so simple. And I was like, that's just really I think it's really great way. So we're going to try brewing this and seeing how it's going. Tony, how are you? Good to see you. And yeah, I'm going to show you how it works. So it comes just with these two pieces, plus it comes with 100 filters. These are short little like round filters. These filters are just a hair, like maybe half a millimeter, smaller in diameter than the AeroPress filters. So they're very similar. You can fit the AeroPress filters in; they will work. And any kind of AeroPress filter substitute, so other branded filters or metal filters for the AeroPress will work in this hoop brewer. So you take it, and there's a lip here. So we're going to put that in the lip, right? So it sits in there like that, and then we just screw it all together. And you want to screw it so it's nice and snug. And what it does, it makes it taut. So this is kind of like a little drum, right? So it tightens on there. It's kind of nice. Now, one of the things about this is that we figured is that, a lot of people when they're brewing coffee at home in a specialty coffee kind of way, they like to use these little brew vessel server things. And they're very cute and very nice to use. But this is not designed for those. This diameter here is a little bit too large for a lot of those carafes. So it's really meant to go on top of your mug, right? So if you've got a big mug, it's meant to sit there and sit well and very easy to go. So I've got we're not going to use the still mug. We're going to use the Festool because, that's what we do, the Festool. And so it just sits there like this. And that's pretty much it. You just pour the water in. It flows through. And gosh, it's super simple. Mom, how are you doing? Good to see you. So we got our coffee. I've got the regular House Nation from Spro Coffee. We're just going to put it in here. Look, Mama, I've figured out how to finally do this without making as much mess from this morning. Although there's still grinds in the bottom. I don't know what happened. And then we just shake it just to make sure that it is even, right? Now we're going to add water. We're going to add water. And the difference is we're going to add water around the edge here. Just going to pour it all in. All of the water goes in at once, and then it just flows through. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to make it really, it's really, really simple. Like it doesn't have to be very difficult. So I've got the boiled water in here in the Zojirushi, and now I'm just going to pour it. And you don't have to do anything around it. I'm just going to pour it around like this, right? You can see that it's filling. It's also filling on the inside. Now the coffee is floating, right? Like coffee always floats. So we're just pouring this in here like this. And I'm going to pour pretty much, that's a good amount. Now the coffee that's floating here is what we call the bloom. And so it needs to be mixed in because otherwise you're having all this kind of dry coffee floating on the top. So I've got what we call a WDT, which is this very fancy device for raking your coffee. I'm just going to stir it and break it down and make sure that I incorporate all of that, floating coffee bed into the liquids so that it fully gets hydrated. And now it looks kind of like this. Is anyone else buffering? No buffering on our end, says George. Good, I'm glad. I'm not getting any error messages from YouTube to tell me that there is some kind of. Sometimes YouTube will tell me there's some kind of issue going on, but I'm not seeing any of that. A lot of people like these WDTs. I'm not really. You use these actually to rake your dry ground espresso coffee before you brew it. I never do that, but I have one because when they came out years ago, I was like curious. So I thought I found this guy on Etsy who is selling this. It's a 3D printed with this pearlescent clear. And he's actually out he was out in the UK, so I ordered it from him, $30 or something like that. Really, nice enough. All right, so one of the problems we had today is that now it's stalled. Look at that; it's basically stalled, which really tells us that the coffee needs to be ground finer. I think so. We need to go coarser grinding, not finer, because it's always about the resistance, right? Flow of the water through the coffee, the brew time, is highly dependent on the amount of resistance that the water has from the coffee. And in this case, there's just too much resistance because now actually it's not too bad. We're probably about 2 minutes into the brew. So Tony says YouTube was having an issue when I first started. I restarted my phone. It seems to be fine. Okay, good. George is with us. What's going on, George? Greetings to all. Make sure you explain the audience that you have to pour the water into the outside bowl, not over the coffee into the center. I did. So around the outside is the way to go. And yeah, there it is. It's just kind of slow. So we're about 3 minutes into it. I feel like it's slower, but you know, when I look at the show timer, I can see the show timer on this application, and I think we're only about 3 minutes into the brew. So I guess it's not going too bad. Oh man, it is so. I'm so close to this heater. Like it is really, really kind of brutal. Oh man, last week I was trying to run that other heater. Oh my God, more. And yeah, that was just too loud. That was too loud. I was running it the other day when I was out here, and it was pulling so much gas from the tank, from the 20-pound tank, that the tank froze, and then the whole thing shut down. It was like, that's not good. So we're about 4 minutes into it, and we're still not close. This is something that I'm, you know, this is only the second time I'm brewing with this, so I guess we'll wait. We'll wait a little bit longer, see what happens. Better that you feel the warmth than the cold, no doubt, no doubt. So how did you guys manage this past week with the snow? Finally, I didn't smoke a cigar since last week, except last night, 2 nights ago. I kind of had the feeling, I was like, you know what, man, it's not too cold. It's like 26 degrees. I think I can manage. And so I made the fire and kind of hung out for like an hour, had a cigar. Unfortunately, the cigar, got a little bit dry, so the wrapper kind of cracked at the foot, or at the cap area towards the end. So it wasn't too bad. But it was a nice time. It was a nice time. I just sat outside, listened to a podcast, having a cigar, a big fire, made the fire as big as I could. Well, not as big as I could, but big enough, right? George says that I typically use a spoon to stir the grounds up. That seems to restore the flow. Oh, okay. Maybe there's still some coffee in there. Let's see if I was to stir this. There's some backflow. Or maybe, do you normally, George, with this brewer, do you normally have a little bit at the bottom? Because it looks like it's got to be at a point where it's probably not going to do anything else. Mom says, thanks, Tony. I restarted. Okay, good. I'm glad. All right, we're just going to bypass that now. Plus, the cup is all the way full, so it doesn't do us any good to. So this morning's brew, one of the big flavor components that was pronounced at the very first sip when it was still hot was this a little bit heavier, bitter, dark chocolate. That's not the same today. Now, this evening, it's a little bit more toned down. A little bit more brighter notes, but not a lot. I wouldn't say it's a bright coffee, but there's definitely brighter notes compared to how it was this morning. A little bit heavier. But we're gonna hold that there. Put that aside and get to our cigar of the day. I just got a haircut yesterday, and I'm wearing the same shirt right now that I was wearing yesterday, so I think there's hairs in it. So I've got this itch going on because I've got like 2 layers, and I got my thermal layer here. So I was like, I better wear my thermal layer out here. So if I keep scratching, that's why. I did shower. So George says, minor residue of watery grounds in the outside bowl. All right, perfect. All right, so let's go to our cigar of the day, which is a cigar I picked up today. I was thinking, what cigar should we get? Let me go over to the local cigar shops. I went to the local cigar shop and was looking around. The local cigar shop is not very good with like customer relations. They're never very good with that, just the, it's interesting. Like I go to the Woodcraft, right, and I'll hang out at the Woodcraft for quite a bit each time I'm there. And as I am a regular there hanging out, I get to see different things, and it's interesting because like anytime somebody walks in, their whole like standard is to be like to greet them. Hey, how are you? What can we do for you? How can I help you? You looking for anything? Blah blah blah. Just very engaging. Man, local cigar shop. They're not very good at that. They're just not very good. All right, so here it is. Here's our cigar for the day. The Ferio Tego Generoso 6x50 Toro from Michael Herklot. And if you're not too familiar with Michael Herklot, Michael is a old school, maybe not old school. I guess he's a younger dude. He's probably about our age. He's not terribly old. He's also not terribly young. He's still fit and good looking. Like I'm like, the guy's looking sharp. He's an old drummer. Went to Berkeley College in Boston, and I think George, you took him under your tutelage, right? And from what I remember, he went to work for Davidoff of Geneva in New York City, and ran stuff there. And then in 2011, he ended up, being hired as VP of Nat Sherman International, and then ran the Townhouse, and had a really beautiful career, really storied career. And then when they sold the company, from what I read, Michael and one of his friends, or maybe a coworker from Nat Sherman, they bought the rights for a lot of the cigar line, not for the Nat Sherman line of cigars, because the company that bought them took that with them, but all the other stuff, the Timeless and any other cigar brands, Michael and company took that with them, and they're the ones behind the Timeless releases lately. And then last year he started the Ferio. Was it last? No, I guess not last year. A few years ago he started the Ferio Tego 2021. This first iteration of the Generoso came out in 2021. It was also just a Toro, just one size. And they had this at the cigar shop, and the cigar shop charges 20. Whoa, actually, is that higher than what I saw in the cat? It was like $25 and change, but it's actually $26.49. Maybe it was 20. It was $26.49. I think the MSRP is 23. So I paid a total with taxes $28.08 for the cigar. What year is this? I think this is oh, here it is. So 2023. 2023. Oh, I better make that note. The most recent release, I believe, is a 2024 or 2025. Oh, 2023. I didn't notice that footband earlier, so that's a pleasant surprise. So the reason I chose this, right, because I saw them in the shop and I was like, Ferio Tego. Then I remembered that, the Ferio Tego Summa was our number one cigar last year, 96.5 points. And I looked and I was thinking, oh, we did that last February, because when we did our recap, I came to the realization that it was February, and I was like, oh, February. So we're in February now. So it's like we're almost a year to the date of smoking the Summa. Let's get a Ferio Tego and see how it does. Maybe February will be Ferio Tego month for us, and we'll do at least a Ferio Tego every February, right? Ferio February, right? So that could be. George says the older version, the 24, was held until late 2025. Oh, okay, gotcha. So here, 2023, and what's there to say about it? It's a nice feeling. Like if I just feel like just holding it, it's got this really nice solid feel to it. Like it feels nice. Let's get closer to it and see what we can see. Now, I think one of the problems, though, with having the Summa last year and having done a recap at the beginning of January and being fresh in our minds and then looking it up and, the Summa was the number one cigar, the top choice of 2025, 96.5 points. That puts an undue burden on this cigar. Because the natural question is, will this live up to the Summa? Will this be the number one cigar of 2026? There's a lot of pressure in thinking like that. Like, do you have to give it better scores? Do you want, so I think that will always be in play, right? So one thing to ask yourselves of me is, will I be too generous? Will I be too harsh? Will this discussion and realization of the Summa have an impact on the evaluation of today? Right? This is something that I think you should always ask of the people that you turn to or listen to or give any kind of attention to for reviews or any kind of thing like this, because there's always something, there could always be external forces at play, and you just never know. When it comes to like reviews and like following reviews, what I try to do is that I try to consider my personal history with that particular reviewer in those particular products, and I'll listen to them and see, what do they like? What do I like? And where there is crossover, that's where I tend to like keep in mind, okay, that we agree on certain aspects, so therefore I would take that. If it's something in that wheelhouse, I will give better credence to that person. But if it's something outside that wheelhouse, then perhaps not, because everybody has their own biases, right? So that's something to consider. Tony's having the Tatuaje La Mission 1955 Lonsdale and a zero orange Coca-Cola. Man, times are tough with Diet Pepsi, huh? Times are tough. All right, so here's our cigar. 2023, Generoso. Man, I gotta say, the interesting thing about this, it feels, it's like it's hard, but it feels very like reassuring. Like I feel very reassured. And I'm not even squeezing this thing. Like I'm just holding it gingerly, just lightly. And and already the way that it feels communicates to me that, wow, there is like, it's different. It's different. Like, like let's say if I hold this one, right? There's a slight, just a minute give. And I'm not even squeezing it. I'm just holding it. This one, it's just, there's like something that says that's solid. But if you look at the color is a little bit on the lighter side, a little bit more rustic looking, right? A little bit lighter, almost not, I mean, you know how if you have brown leather and it's worn, it's got the crackling, it's got like cracks that are like whiter brown than darker brown. It reminds me of that. Look at that way that it just gets a kind of patinaed kind of look to it. Brian says Cigarette City is where they were at. They were at Cigarette City. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Brian came by and dropped this off to me just before we started. I heard someone, actually, I didn't see your message, Brian. I just heard the rumbling outside. I was like, who's it? I'm actually expecting a delivery from DHL. So I was like, is DHL here? Is DHL here? So I opened the door and, oh, it's not DHL, it's Brian. And he brought this Romacref Revenge, at least 2 years old. It was evidently in Cigarette City's back inventory somewhere, lost. And they bought them out, which is a smart move. And I appreciate you dropping that off. I might have that tomorrow. Or there's new Revenges coming out. So there's always a possibility that I could save that until the new one comes out and then do a head-to-head. We'll see. So there's the color. Ooh, spicy. Like spicy fish food. Like spicy tetra fish food. With a little bit of sweetness. Huh. Interesting. George says that zero orange, come Tony has the earth stop spinning. And Tony says, I was out with Brian and Dave, forgot to bring my Diet Cherry Pepsi, so the zero from Buddy will have to do. Oh. Man, you were all the way in Pennsylvania and you came all the way back? I'm going to cut this with the Tonino Lamborghini lighter, which probably needs a sharpening. It does have a little bit of a harder feel to it. How do you sharpen? Do any of you guys sharpen your cigar cutters? Is that even a thing? Okay, so there's our cut on the cap. Not very good, obviously. Good resistance. There's a the flavor on the cold draw is relatively light, but there is this interesting like sweet character to it. So let's look at our color. I think our color is kind of here. Fragrance, cold draw. The fragrance intensity, I think, is fairly, medium high. I would say that cold draw is kind of medium. So I'm going to say for this 8.5. Right now, time to light. Time to get to our lighting. Got our Churchill Club matches from Bangkok. No, from Dubai. An interesting thing. Look, they have brown. It's all brown. Like even the wood is a little bit brown, and the sulfur is brown too. It's kind of very nicely done. It's one of those things. Like I think you have these matches. You're like, oh, I probably should keep them. But then like, how many matchbooks do you need to keep? Like, I bet each of you have hundreds at least of matches that you're never going to use. So got to use it, right? Got to use it. Easy striking. There's some good spice right on the bat, right off the bat, right off the top. George says, I'm going to have to jump off, but I'll try to rejoin. I'm excited I'm looking forward to it. Tony says they had 2 sizes of La Maestranza. I only bought one because I bought the old La Mission and should have bought more because the first inch has been outstanding. Oh, man, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so the first few puffs of this cigar, there's definite spice to it, but it's not the Nicaraguan black pepper spice, but there's a spice. It's kind of, what comes to mind is that there's an elegance in the spiciness, right? It's an elegant spice, a rounded spice, not too sharp. It's not a sharp spice. It's kind of like, it's like a posh spice. Actually, gosh, that was a really nice puff. There's definitely character to the smoke. Like I don't, the summer has been a year since we smoked it, so I don't really remember the details. So I can't really compare it to the summer, but this has some spice. Now this cigar is also like at least 2 years old. But there's probably some improvement on the original format. There's really a lovely spice that's not overpowering. It's just spice and nice blend of spiciness. Like there's definitely like maybe like a notes of paprika. And the spice is not a black pepper spice. Maybe like a white pepper in there. Like those of you from with Old Bay, it has, if you can imagine the spiciness of Old Bay, but without the Old Bay character, right? Like there's a character of Old Bay that I'm not sure, is it the I don't know what it is in Old Bay that makes it Old Bay. But if you can imagine Old Bay without that Old Bay character, but just that little bit of spiciness to it, that's kind of what it's like. There's a good resistive draw. I mean, I am liking it. I am liking it initially. Tony says, I also bought a bundle of Epic La Reserva Madura Lanceros because they were 35. Oh, my goodness. Where is this place? Cigarette City. It's a Thursday. Don't you people work? Oh, no, you guys are all retired. That's right. I forgot. Brian's retired. Dave's retired. Man, everybody's retired now. Cigarette City in Delaware? There's definitely I guess that's the best way to, I said earlier, that there's an elegance to the spice. There's good body, elegant spice that's not overpowering. It's just kind of like it's like, let's say this is like your line, right? This is your line. And this is the line that if you go above it, you're going over, right? You're getting, it's like right here. It's like right there. It's like rolling right along there. It brings it up and then just kind of holds it. Tony says my schedule shifted this week because my boss is going away, so I had off today. I needed to get away from the house. I understand completely. Like, it's spicy, but without being heavy. Nice, rounded, warm body, but not heavy body, just a nice medium, really more of a medium body, spiciness, like a rounded, elegant spice. Like, it's a very pleasant cigar to smoke. Let's try some coffee with it. Yeah, on Tuesday I was outside with the Roma Cro-Magnon EMH. I picked up a couple the other week for the snow. Yeah, that's right, because we had the snow the week before, and I was out smoking that. Nice. There's definitely the spiciness is such that you don't want to puff on it too fast or too hard, because that spicy does build, but it's not. Yeah, it just builds. It builds, and it might end up being a little bit too much if you puff on it too hard. Like, I think I'm starting to feel it lingering in the air here in the garage because the doors are closed right now. But I do have the filter running, which it's not a filter designed for smoke, so. There's even like a touch of cream, just kind of lingering, like a note lingering above. I'm surprised Rusty has not texted me with the what do you call it? With the muscles of the week. Probably will in a little while. So what's been going on? Anything good? It's been so cold because of this weather that I have not been here in the workshop except for like last week when we were doing the show here in the garage, and man, it was like brutal. So finally I was like, I decided I was going to take a class over the weekend and how to make something called a Moxon vise. And a Moxon vise is a vise that you can use for your workpieces. And it's a clamp-on vise. You clamp it on to the surface of your workbench or your table or whatever. And it's got these big jaws with twin screws, and you adjust it. And the guy that was teaching the class, a guy named Albert Klein, I took a class from him before on how to do double bevel marquetry. And I was like, he's a good instructor. I will take I liked his style of Moxon vices, right? Because I'll show you the Moxon vice is over here. It's almost finished. Almost ready for assembly. Right? So these are the two pieces. This is the front jaw. And then this is the back. Now they're a little bit offset because this front piece is actually a little bit taller, so that when you assemble it with the screws, it'll actually be flush on the top. And it's longer on the bottom so that you can locate it on the edge of your workbench. So it's actually kind of, and then the thing about this, like most Moxon vices are very simple of affairs, like just straight, and then they'll cut this angle on this entire surface. But Albert has this idea of like using these lamb's tongues to just give it a little more flair, right? A little more flair. And then the edging here is a little bit more flary. And then the feet, the OG feet here, kind of just a little more flair, just to make it a little bit more stylish. And this is made with the hard maple. And then as you can see, I told you I did a double bevel marquetry class. This is one of the pieces that we made in that class. So this I inlaid into the surface of the front jaw today. And now I think I've already finished sanding. I got to sand this a little bit more because I just put this in. And then I think we're done. Then I just got to put all the hardware in. And pretty good. So that's what I've been working on this week, or just the last few days. The maple, though, is pretty heavy, so it's a little bit difficult to work with because it's kind of hard. But, make it more difficult so you hopefully are better. Rusty says, just got home, sending it now. Excellent. All right, let's look here. It just arrived. The cider steam mussels, bacon, onions, garlic, creme fraiche, hard cider with potato strands. There it is. Look at that, man. The potatoes. Good God, man. If it wasn't a 3-hour drive, my friend, I would totally love to go. My hand is cold. George says, I was off 7 school days due to the snow. I made a healthy donation to my... Which is your local cigar shop? I mean, do you make the journey up to Tony's every time, or are you going to one closer to where you live down in Yeah, man. As Tony says, those mussels look fantastic. Yeah, it's also being kind of brutal, like that sleet really made everything more difficult just because the ice, right? And actually, I didn't realize the kids had been out of school for so long because one day, about a week into it, I was like, oh, I wonder how my niece is doing. And like, oh no, she's been off. I was like, well, she's been off. What have you been doing all this time? So yeah, it's got this nice. So when the thing about this cigar, right? Sometimes we have cigars that they're a lot of power. This is not about a lot of power. This is about like, it really is very elegant. It's got spiciness, but it's an elegant spiciness. It's kind of like, remember I said there's this line, right? It brings you right up to the line and then glides. It's just kind of like this movement of just moving forward. And just the right amount of draw, resistance. So like I said, this is made by Plasencia Cigars. And Plasencia, it's interesting. I was able to tour Plasencia quite a long time ago during one of my first trips, or not my first trip, but my early trips to Nicaragua. In 2011, I was talking to Pete Johnson, and Pete was like, yeah, I'm going to be in Esteli this week, or that week. I was like, oh, I'll be in Managua that week. Do you mind if any chance I can come up and have the tour? He's like, yeah, man, come on up. And I was like, all right, I'll call you. So I called him up. I said, hey, man, I'm in Managua. So I told my friend who's my host, and he was like, oh, my brother-in-law can drive you. My brother-in-law is friends with Nestor Plasencia, the son, right? The old father, the one that started the company, the son. So we drove up there, met up with Pete. Pete gave us the full tour of the then brand new My Father factory. And then we trucked over to Plasencia. And it was interesting to go to My Father and then to go to Plasencia, because they were very, especially back then, they were vastly different operations, right? Pepin had just built the new My Father factory, modern, nice modern looking building, right? Just kind of a monolithic building, nice, right? Nicely done. A little bit of facade on the front. Whereas you go to Plasencia and it's like hacienda. It looks like a hacienda. It's like full on hacienda style, old school Nicaragua, old school Spanish. You walk in, and then in the whole factory surrounds like a fountain courtyard. There's a fountain in the courtyard, enclosed courtyard, right? Surrounded by the buildings. And it was just such an interesting juxtaposition to see the old school and then the new school, which I guess the new school is now kind of the old school. But I haven't been back to either of those factories since that trip. Well, actually, my last trip to Esteli, gosh, it hasn't been since 2014, I think. Maybe 2014 or 2015, 2016, something like that. A bit of a shame, really. But we have been lucky. We've been able to see quite a lot. In those trips, we were able to see quite a few, factories. Was able to visit, places like Nicasueño with Skip. And then we went to Aganorsa Tabsa factory. And where else did we go? Oh, we also went to Padron. I've told you that story. That was very interesting. Like Padron, like I'd always heard about Padron, and the people were always like, you can't it's impossible to get a tour there. They don't give you tours. I was like, all right. But my friend is friends with Jorge Padron, George Padron, right? So he was like, we went there on George's not under his escrow, because he wasn't there. He was in Miami at the time, but there's a little bit more spikes building up a little bit, I think. Tony Shop. Oh, okay. Is that not too far of a drive for you every day? And was it you that was saying this? Maybe it was last week. Somebody was saying this. Maybe it was you, that most of the time, if the schools are out, you still have to go in, right, to do paperwork or just to do work. Tony says that I definitely should have bought more of these because they went out of production to 2020, and they're you should definitely go back there and get some more. Right? Oh, here's something for you. Brian just sent this to a message. He's part of this bull and oyster roast that's for the mission helpers of the Sacred Hearts. Mission helpers are this Sacred Heart nuns who are there to, or maybe they're mission helper nuns. They're nuns that do like charitable work, and they have these yearly fundraiser for the bull roast. So Saturday, April 18th at Casamias. We went there last year. So if you can go, it's a good time up in Parkton. So keep that in mind. Saturday, April 18th. Nice time. Can't believe it's already been a year almost since we went to that last one. So this cigar, while there might have been just a little hint of a little bit more poppiness with the spice, it's very consistent. It's very, for lack of a better term, it's very static, but not static necessarily in a bad way, but it's Still very pleasure. It's a very pleasurable smoke. But the cigars are interesting, right? Like, what I mean by that is, like Plasencia does for a long time, like especially when I went to visit that era, Plasencia was really mainly a cigar manufacturer for other brands. And they did have a couple cigars that they released. Uh-oh. Why are we getting